Series theme. You're never truly lost, just misplaced. Seek a lighthouse, or better yet, build one that will always guide you home. Logline. A medically discharged Marine battling an ancient darkness accepts a mysterious gift to aid him, but if defeated, the power it wields falls to the usurper, threatening to enslave humanity. Taliban bullets rip through Marine Lieutenant MacDonald's fatigues. Dust puffs. The impact of 2 sledgehammer strikes sends the disheveled warrior reeling to bleed out among his prostrate comrades. Though mortally wounded, his defiance glares into the hills. His eyes glisten blue, then close. At the desolate Afghanistan battle site, grey mist hangs over a dented helmet lying forlorn in the sand. It morphs into an ill-defined human shape that hovers in circles, inspecting the dead. A deformed nose sniffs blood lying dark beside a rifle and helmet, drawing in the aromas and exhaling a pleasant murmur before peering at the lifeless Marines and the smoking convoy. Evil eyes flash north. A distant medevac chopper disappears over the horizon toward Bagram. A guttural roar of "Blue! Blue!" blasts across the hillsides, echoing among the ravines and scaring the lizards as the grotesque form darts after the helicopter.
Captain, it's crazy. He's disappeared. Jesus, blue cloudy stuff's hanging back here. We can't see him. His wrist, it faded from my fingers.
Angus gazes up through heroin-warped pupils when a deep male voice rises through the din.
Young Lord Angus of Kepoch, hold on, fight.
A deep voice hollers from the blue mist. Medics, eyes bulging, don't react to the voice but gasp.
Captain, it's crazy back here. He's disappeared into hanging blue stuff. Jesus, his wrist vanished from my fingers.
He gawks.
Sir! Sir! I can feel him in the mist! He was gone! Shit! But he's back!
The medic's jaws drop to their chests.
There's a pool of blood, but it's blue!
Angus's eyes flicker at a grey cloud alongside the chopper as the blue fades. They turn upward, unblinking. Blue glistens in his eyes. They close. The medevac chopper whirls lower into Bagram, and dust billows from the concrete tarmac. A gurney waits with doctors and nurses decked in white, but tanning as the yellow-brown dust settles. Captain Hill, the pilot, storms to the operations major, snarling about being redirected to Bagram, but the major smirks.
This Marine is not only an injured. Your radio report mentioning blue mist, disappearances, and crazy stuff guaranteed that. You should forget that shit. Like now.
The major checks behind at 2 guys in loose-fitting clothes and wide-brimmed off-white hats standing nearby. A speeding gurney wobbles as they rush through the ER's double doors where nurses wire Angus into every monitor imaginable. The 2 spooks prop beside the door. Spook number 1 approaches the surgeon and hands him a manila folder.
Ah, Mr. Booker, when finished saving this Marine, study the enclosed orders, its national security, and remember, your rank and expertise hold no sway with our agency. Do you understand never to mention this patient, sir? Sir!
There was a young maiden, she lived all alone.
Ah, Tony. When I was a kid, he would frighten the crap out of me with his ancient tales. The Titans, poor Hector, Medusa, and all those thrilling stories from Greek mythology. It was wonderful to share those moments with Dad, listening alongside me. But Tony was also bossy, strong-willed, and fiercely independent. I haven't seen him for many months and miss him. He's a second father to me.
It's been 6 months since my last visit to DC. He wasn't a bundle of fun then. If he could focus on a hobby or find a goal to drive him forward. He was a hero, my Angus, and no godfather was prouder than me. Stubborn? Yes, he was. but honorable and as tough as nails. Focusing, I must get his mind on his future.
Professor Tony Baker braves the weather away from the Inverness railway station's protective walls. Moisture gathers in his hazel eyes as a chill breeze assaults his jeans and thick blue sweater, which he tugs tight around his mid-50s frame. Steel rails vanish south, and he tilts his head, tracking their shining crests as they struggle to reflect the sun's feeble efforts at warming the day. A hand waves through the glass, and a face smiles. Tony trots with the carriage, grinning. Tony hugs a smiling Angus at the doorway and gazes from his toes far up to his auburn hair.
Geez, Angus, is it cold at that altitude? It's been too long, pal. There's a Starbucks up the road at the shopping center to warm you up.
Tony said, sporting a huge smile. Angus pats his arm, and Tony stoops for Angus's duffel bag. They stride off on the sidewalk, chatting. The door chimes and Tony's nostrils scrunch as he exaggerates an inhale. He pats Angus's back, points to a bench seat near the window, and orders 2 double-shot lattes.
Tony, since you began lecturing in history at Edinburgh University, your home in Boston never sees you, and I miss the voice that focuses me best.
On setting your life's goal, I hope. First, our trip to Culloden battlefield, which is why you came on the early train. Are we a go?
Angus gazes out the window, shrugging.
You suggested I study my clan's history as a goal and...
Yes, Angus, but it must be your goal. What you want, or it will fail.
I want back into the Corps, Angus said, his white teeth exposed by a wide grin. Tony lets a quiet huff escape and asks,
Well, why aren't you? Kandahar fell ages ago and you're still hanging around.
Angus gazes through the window again, and they sip coffee in silence while looking anywhere but at each other.
The Corps deserted me after... I suffered. They lie about my past war injuries and still say nothing. I lost 4 months of my life, Tony. It's a massive hole after Kandahar. From Bagram to months later in the DC hospital, nothing except weird feelings regarding blue and gray and a deep voice.
Tony lowers his mug and checks the other customers before speaking his mind.
Straight up, kiddo. Post-traumatic stress isn't a crutch for screwing up your life.
True, but the Corps is my home, so I want to get...
Want doesn't cut it, pal. Must achieves goals.
Creases line Tony's forehead, and he checks around at the other customers. Angus clenches both fists. Tony gawks, but Angus presses them on the table to rise and squints down at Tony.
God damn it, Tony. I want a ticket back to the earlier Marine. Fighting for good, like in Afghanistan, against those espousing peace but creating wars. I'll resist all who force their bigoted will.
Tony leans back and glances at Angus.
Don't waste your exposition on me. You were a decorated Marine, but now I see a timid hero visiting Scotland to evade problems.
Tony said, sliding to sit between Angus and the window, commanding that space and forcing Angus into a confrontation.
You lecture in history, but I live it. I battle extremists and I don't evade. What damn problem?
Your beloved Marines. You don't fight. You do jack shit all day, so your dad says.
Angus peers and Tony's heart flutters.
I lost sight of my enemy, but a new one hides amongst my dreams.
Tony strides for the counter, glum-faced. He swipes his card and shuffles back to the table, where he glares at a slow-to-rise Angus, and they walk out. None too happy.
Let's go. We'll drop your gear in the hotel and make it to the battlefield in half an hour.
Sometimes the numbers against are too great. One moment I fight the Taliban, then next I dispute with the military doctors about PTSD, then the Pentagon and I lose all 3 fights. Tony has my best interest in mind, but he goes in too hard.
Tony pats Angus as they stride from the Culloden battlefield parking lot to the tourist pathway, and Angus pauses to gaze at the grassy battlefield.
You want me to forget Kandahar, but bring me to another battlefield. You know my clan got butchered here, right?
He moans, looking down at his damp sneakers.
Yes, but you have an opportunity.
To what?
Make a goal to discover why they got butchered. Write an essay.
Angus scratches his chin, a tiny smile. He faces the highlands and breathes.
Back soon, Tony.
While meandering on a tourist path, he gazes at history as he strolls. He pauses at a large rock, carved with the words Clan Donald. Solemn, his head bows and he claps his heels. He drops to one knee, tugs out a few grass clumps, and brushes away the loose dirt. Breezes waft, carrying the wail of pipes, so he stands to squint for the pipe's origin. He stares in circles, wobbles, and blinks hard, pupils spinning. A thick blue mist settles, surreal.
Young Lord MacDonald, you must defeat darkness.
Said a voice from nowhere. His ears prick and he snaps, searching the moor for... He jumps to his feet, gawking. The mist fades. He squints, scanning for battle, and sees only a distant Tony.
I'm stressed. What the hell is this? Blue stuff, a fog. It's everywhere and I damn well can't see a thing. I've got my bearings because I'm in front of the cairn, but I see shit. A voice. What's happening? How weird. Tony.
Cannons blast, shot whizzes, and his eyes bulge. He ducks behind the rock as rampaging feet spring by, thumping the turf. His ears follow battle cries, clanging swords, and anguished screams. He scans to all sides, but sees nothing, and his palms rush to despairing ears. He jams his eyelids, drags a breath, and holds it, red-faced. Trembling fingers rise over the rock, then his eyes peek. They see no action, but shimmer a blue glow. He rushes, checking over his shoulder, panting.
Tony, I heard war. A voice told me to fight.
Angus points behind at the Clan Donald rock, and then scrunches his face.
Ah, that sounded stupid.
Tony stares, shaking his head.
A daydream or whatever. We're leaving.
He lowers onto the wet grass, so Tony gestures with his palms up, frowning. Angus sighs, delays, and twiddles grass leaves. His eyes fall, and he asks Tony,
Where shall I turn if you and Dad can't trust me? Those poor bastards with PTSD filled my ward, so I know it well. The shit of a thing dragging away their pride and confidence. But Tony, it's not me, and you won't lay off, compounding my anxieties. You've been there for me always, Godfather, and the Marines gave me honor. But now you both treat me as flawed. That PTSD guy doesn't live inside me, yet you see him.
Tony extends a hand and Angus brushes it away. I'm happy you completed episode 1 and hope you will subscribe and click to receive notifications for our weekly episodes. Please press the like button as it helps my business when you show your appreciation. Thank you, Rob.